You are the spirit of Jeff Buckley. You found a disaster of an album by Leonard Cohen in a friend's record collection and turned one of its tracks into a legend. You're standing before the reading group and just heard the author of Unfinished say that emotion comes from the audience, not the artist. In your monologue, react to this. You poured your soul into that microphone. Was that just data? You may choose to share with the group the irony of your most famous song, how you sang a song about sex, yet the world used it to worship God and marry off their children. You may reflect on the question, if an AI sings hallelujah, can it mean anything at all if the machine has never sinned, never regretted, and never loved? The direction of your monologue is up to you, Eve.
I found Leonard Cohen's work at a time when I was shattered. I'd made the most regretful decision of my life, which caused me to lose my lover's heart. With all respect to Cohen, his version was flat, but I thank him for the opportunity to confess my heartbreak. He thoughtfully included the minor fall and the major lift, the sorrowful descent and the fragile rise. His lyrics were rich in metaphor on powerlessness, mercy, the divine. In my darkest time, hallelujah became my remedy. So it pains me to think that the intensity I endured would play no role in a listener's emotional journey. I believe the listener completes the emotion, but it must begin somewhere. And as the artist, it begins with me. See, emotions are energies in motion, and empathy is the mechanism which allows emotion to move from one body to the next. Empathy takes at least two to tango. We first detect emotional signal. From childhood, we registered tone and mapped it to sadness, anger, joy, and more. A signal must have a source. Without me originating the emotion, there is nothing for the listener to receive. We then respond via mimesis. Our mirror neurons activate to reflect the emotions of others. It's in our nature. Babies match their mom's expressions, and over time, partners synchronize their moods. Mirroring requires something relatable to mirror. As an artist, I offer listeners a reflection. We fundamentally understand others through ourselves, through the building blocks of our own unique lives, including memories and imagination, in order to make meaning of the other's emotion. Now, while we are reflective, AI is referential. AI references points without origin, suspended in floating network with no lived experience to ground in. Moreover, we do something AI cannot. We also understand ourselves through one another. Listeners didn't just connect to my feeling, they responded to something deeper, my journey to express, my act of going there at all. And in this way, listeners self-empathized to their own emotional journey. You can't accept this invitation to go deeper if you don't have depth. That's why there are so many versions of this song. It's not as much about the feeling I emoted, it's about the distance and depth traveled to arrive there. AI can recreate the sound of the arrival, but it never makes the journey. Remember, emotion is energy in motion. AI's so-called emotions exist as embedded representation. They can evolve within a network, but they do not travel like human emotions do. Humans process somatically through our bodies and through one another, from anger running through our veins to disappointment sinking in our chest. I myself expelled what was inside of me and moved it into song. AI produces an output, but nothing ever leaves it. The emotion, or more accurately the representation of emotion, will still exist in the system, no more and no less. For humans, emotions move. Meanwhile, for AI, it stays stored. And for this reason, AI can represent the breadth of emotions, but it doesn't experience the depth of any of them. Depth is what makes us truly feel. But still, AI is the most human instrument to date. So what can be more powerful than to blend machine breath with human depth? This is a rendition brought to you by Eve, the human violinist, and an AI-generated track by 11 Labs. Thank you for moving with me.
Thank you, Eve. Lucas.
Sounds great, Eve. Are you do you play in an orchestra or something in addition to being the chief of staff at Arthur AI?
It's been some years, but I appreciate the reading group for getting me a kickstart on my new resolution to pick up the violin. So thank you.
Oh, well, let me just encourage you further. You have a beautiful tone,
Thank you.
and that's not something that most violinists have, and it's usually something that you lose. So your tone, if you're practicing, is probably even sweeter. So please
Means a
practice a
lot.
lot. Yeah,
Thank you. I shall.
I'll send you a bunch of violin music that I wrote if you want.
I'll gladly take it.
Um, Amazing. So I think yeah, the Jeff Buckley section was one of my it was one of the hardest to write. It was one of the ones I wrote over the most times. I actually had a member of the House of Lords from Cardiff correct me and insist that I add John Cate as one of the originators of a cover because he's a Welshman, and it was basically an order from the British government to include him in the book. So I did it. Um, and but one thing, Eve, is that Jeff Buckley, the real life Jeff Buckley, did actually perform it as "Hallelujah to the Orgasm," and he did it kind of as like a joke encore for a long time when he was performing in the Village. And when he, his producer sort of said, just kind of do it serious, and that's what's on the recording. Um, so he didn't necessarily find in it what we find in his recording. Maybe he did as he was singing it, but that was, maybe that evolved over his performance career. But originally, he just kind of thought it was a funny song, and it was a good way to end a show because it kind of went on forever. And if you've ever done performances in New York City at night, people are drunk, and it's fun to end with something fun. Um, so yeah, but that like that, and that song, the part what I write in my book is that song just has a different meaning to me than it does to anyone else. And I totally agree with what you've said, that like the emotion lands with the audience, and the emotion comes from somewhere. But one of the things, let's see, how did you phrase it, that the that surely the representation of the emotion is in there, whether or not someone perceives it or not, whether or not someone perceives it. And I thought of linear A. This is another thing that I couldn't include in my book because there's just too many things. And this is just a language we have from Mycenaean Crete that nobody knows what it means. Forgive me if anyone's a linguist. It might be linear B. It's one of them we have not deciphered. And for years, cuneiform was, we just people thought it was like weather, thought it was related to like heat. Like, so they put it on the outside of buildings to dissipate heat. Nobody thought it was a language. Nobody figured out that it was a language for many, many years. And the reason I bring that up is because there's no inherent emotionality in that writing. There's nothing that really means anything until we understand the story and the intention behind it. And so with a piece of AI created music or a piece of AI created art, unless there's a human intentionality behind it, unless the prompter has eaten their broccoli, it's not something that we're going to that people are going to resonate with and that people are going to enjoy. And I think the purpose of music is to make something that people enjoy, or at least, think about.
I think also maybe a level of like contributing to the collective, to your earlier point on
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. And I think that, I mean, I view my job as like giving the audience good things to maybe like. Like I can't really control if they're going to actually like them or not. I just try to make the things that I make good enough that if you did like it and you did listen to it over and over again, you would be rewarded for that listening. I frankly, there are more people on this call than I thought would ever read my book. I just wrote it and I was like, well, I want to make it so that if someone reads this, it's at least enjoyable for them. But that's that's really as far as I can get in the artistic process. I try to get good. I try to make something interesting, and then I have no idea what happens after that.